In Django, almost everything you do revolves around the database. Storing data, retrieving it, updating it, and deleting it. These four actions together are called CRUD operations. Create, read, update, and delete. That's what CRUD stands for. Now in this video, we will focus on the first two, that is create and read. And we'll learn how Django's ORM makes these operations incredibly simple and powerful, all without writing any SQL queries manually. We'll also build a book library management system where we will create book entries and retrieve them using Django ORM. So let's get started. Django's ORM or Object Relational Mapper acts as a bridge between your Python code and your database. It lets you interact with the database using Python objects instead of writing raw SQL queries. Now let's break down CRUD, create, read, update, and delete, and see how we can handle the first two in Django. Now what is CRUD? CRUD represents the four fundamental operations on data. C stands for create, which is like adding new records. R stands for read, which is for retrieving existing records. And U stands for update, that is modifying existing records. And D stands for delete, which is for removing records. Now Django's ORM gives us high-level functions for each of these, making data handling both clean and secure. So let's start with how to create records in Django ORM. Now Django provides two primary methods to insert data into the database. One is using the create method, another one is using the save method. Now the create method creates and saves an object in one step. And the save method lets you create an object first and save it later, usually when you need to modify it before storing. So here is an example of the create method. It creates a book record and immediately saves it to the database. So you can think of create as a one-liner for object creation. It is great when you already have all the values ready. So here you can see there is a function called add book, which takes a request, and here we use the create method book.objects.create, and we are trying to create a book record with these values and add them to the database. And next we have the save method. In this approach, we first create an instance of the book model, but it is not yet saved to the database. Then by calling the save method, we actually store it. So here in this example, you can see we are creating an instance of the book model. We call it new book, and then we say that we want these three fields there, like title, author, publication date, with these values. And by doing this, we have just created an instance of the book model and it is not yet saved to the database. Now you call the save method here, new book.save. Now when you do this, we actually store it. Now this is helpful when you want to make calculations, set default values, or validate before saving. So now you may think when to use which, when to use create and when to use save. So use create for quick inserts when all data is ready, and save when you need to tweak things before storing. So think of save as a two-step process: prepare and then commit. Alright, now let's move to the next one, that is reading records, the R in CRUD. We have seen what is C, that is create. Now the next one is read, which is the R in CRUD. So once we have created the records, we often want to read them or retrieve them, either to display them or to process them further. Now Django ORM offers intuitive methods to fetch records, like you can see here on the screen. For example, we have the all method, which is used to get everything. We have a filter method to get matching records. We have a get method to get a single record, and we have an order by to sort, and then we have slicing for limiting results. So let's take an example here for reading records. So you can see here we have made use of these different methods that are provided by Django. Like for example, you want to fetch all the records, so you use book.objects.all, and then you want to filter and get only those books whose genre is fiction. For that you use a filter method, and then you want to get a single record where the book ID is equal to 1. For that you use the get method. And we want to order the books by title, so we have used this order by method where we are ordering by title and we are storing it into this books by title. And also we want to just slice the results, that is, let's say we want to get only the first 5 books, then we use this slice method as well, as you can see. So this is how simple data retrieval becomes with Django ORM. So instead of writing long SQL queries, you can just call these functions directly on your model. Alright, now let's go to the CodeChef platform and take 2 examples, one to understand the creation that we have seen and another one to understand the retrieval that we have seen. So here I am on the CodeChef platform and we have a worked out example here, which is to create a book library management system. So if we look at the file explorer here, we can see that we have a project called library_project, and we have an app under this called library app, and we have the views.py, models.py, and also we have this template called books.html and the urls.py for both the project and the app level. So let's take a look at these. So in the models.py file, if you see here, we have a model called book, and we can see that we are having 4 fields in this: title, author, publication year, and ISBN with their respective data types and the maximum length and things like that. So this is the process of creating a model that we have already seen in the previous lessons. So we have a model called book. Now let's look at the views.py file. Now in the views.py file, we can see that we are having 2 functions here. One is for the home, in order to just serve the home page. Here we are just rendering the home.html template, which is a template that we have. And then we have another function called add book, which is going to be used for adding a book record into the database. And here we can see that we have made use of the create method. So here we say book equal to book.objects.create. Okay, so remember, create method is used when you have all the data ready, and in one go itself you can create and add the data to the database. So you can see the records that we are adding are to ISBN this value, then title equal to Django for beginners, author equal to William S. Vincent, and publication year is 2020. Okay, this is based on the model that we have already created. Now we have another variable called all books, and all books, what does it do? It just gets the details of all the books that are there in the database. We have made use of the all method, as you can see here. Now we have a context dictionary here where I say new book is equal to book. That means in this variable called new book, or in this key called new book, I am storing this actual book that we have created, okay, or the record that we have created. And in this all books, I am putting the all books that we have just retrieved here using the all method. So these are put in a context dictionary called context itself. Now what we are doing is we are rendering to the HTML or the template called books.html, and we are also passing that context from here, this context. So remember, the context consists of the book, which consists of all the data that we have entered, and also of all the books that we have fetched using the all method. So that is what happens in the views.py file. Now also let's take a look at the books.html. Now in the books.html, this is just a simple template that is used for displaying all the books that are there in the database. Okay, first it says library management system and newly added book, and title is the new book.title. So new book, remember, it will contain the record of the book that we have just put in the database, and .title will give the title of that book, and the new book.author and the publication year and the ISBN. So that will give you the record of the new book that we have added. Now we also have something called all books. Now what does all books do? In all books, as you can see, we have run a for loop over here. So using the for loop, we are trying to fetch the title and the author name of all the books that are there in the database. So book.title by book.author. So this will give you a list of all the books that we have in the database. That is what happens in this template called books.html. Then we have the urls.py file of the main project. Here we are using the include function to call the library apps URLs. Now this is the library apps urls.py file. So you see here we are having a URL pattern called add book. Now what this will do is this will call the add book view, which we already saw in the views.py file. Okay, and also we have a root path for the home page. Alright, now let me run this and show you how this works. Now when I click on the run button, it is configured in such a way that it starts the server and then it will make the migrations which we have already studied in the previous lesson, so that the model gets created, and then you can see here the home page loads. Now when I click on this add a book, it is actually going to go to the path called add-book, which we saw in this urls.py file. Now let me click on add book. Now it says newly added book and the detail of the book that we have just added. Now where did these details come from? It came from the views.py file. In the views.py file, you see this add book function was called, and using the create method, we have added all these things into the database. And then in the template, the details of the newly added book is displayed here, and also all books are also given here. Now since there is only one book that is added, we have only one book. Alright, so that's how you can create a record in Django using the create method that we have seen. Now let's take one more example where we will read the records. So we finished creation C. Now let's go to reading, which is R. Now here we have another worked out example, which is retrieve and display book details. Okay, and if you look at the file explorer, you can see we have that same book project and book app over here, and here we have a slightly different views.py file. So here in the views.py file, you can see that there is a book list that is defined where we are creating multiple books. We are adding multiple books to the database. Okay, so all are done using the create method that we have already seen. So let me zoom in a little bit. So you can see using the create method, we have created some books here. As you can see here, title, Django for beginners, and it has author, publication year, ISBN and genre. So these are the fields that we have for each of the records, and all these records are added to the database in this function. Now here we have the reading logic where we define this variable called all books, and to this we are putting all the books using the all method. Okay, so details of all the books will go to the all books variable here. And next I want to get only the fiction books. So for that I say fiction books equal to book.objects.filter genre equal to fiction. So we are using the filter method over here in order to filter and get only those books whose genre is equal to fiction. Now I also want to get the book whose book ID is equal to 1. So for that I am using a try block here where I am saying first book equal to book.object.get where ID equal to 1. Okay, so if it exists, then that book will be stored into this first underscore book, and if it does not exist, then it will be none. Then I also want to order the books by title. For that I use this books by title, this variable, and then we get all the books here using the all method, and then we use the order by method and we order it by title. And also we want to get the first 5 books, let's say. For that we use the books.objects.all again to get all the books and slice it using this slice function where we are going to get only the first 5 books. Now you can see all these variables that we used here, all books, then fiction books, then books by title, first 5 books, all of them we pass it into a context dictionary. We put them into a context dictionary called context where we have this key value pairs. So all books means all the books, then fiction books means fiction books. Similarly for all the variables that we just created. And then what we are doing is we are rendering it to the booklist.html template, and we are passing this context, which is the context dictionary that we just created here. And then we have another function for the home page like we usually do. Alright, now let me show you the HTML file. Now in this HTML file, you can see that first we are trying to display all the books. For that I run a loop and we are saying books.title by books.author. So we are fetching the title and the author of each of the books that we have in the complete list that we have. Then here, as you can see, fiction books. So I want to display the fiction books. So here I say for book in fiction books. Now remember, fiction books only contains those books whose genre is fiction. We already saw that we have used the filter method in order to put only those books of the genre fiction into fiction books. So we are running a loop here and we are displaying the titles of all the books, and if there are none, it will say no fiction books found. Then here I want to display the first book, that is book with book ID 1, and remember that was stored inside this first book variable. So firstbook.title by firstbook.author. So if it exists, and if it does not exist, it will say no book with ID1 found. Now books ordered by title, remember that was stored in books by title. So again we are running a for loop in order to just display all the books by title, which is ordered by title. Then the first 5 books will be displayed using this first 5 books variable which we created in the views.py file, and the title of the first 5 books will be displayed. So remember, all the logic that we have is in the views.py file, and the template that we have is used for just displaying things that we already have according to our logic. Then we have this home.html, which is for the home page, and you can see here we are using dynamic URL here to view all books based on the filters applied in views.py file. Now let's see what happens by looking at the urls.py file, and before that let me also show you the models. The models you must have already understood from what we already had. It is title, author, publication year, ISBN and genre. Okay, and now this is the urls.py file of the main project, and here you see we have one for the home page and another for the path called books, which will call the book list view. Okay, let's run this and see if it is working as expected. Now when I click on the run button, you can see the server is starting. It has made the migrations, applied the migrations, and here you can see the home page has loaded. Now here it says welcome to library management system. This is a simple app to manage and view books in your collection, and this all came from the home.html, and this is the link that is displayed here, view all books based on the filters applied in views.py. So if I click on this is for your demonstration. You can see first of all we have all the books displayed. Now remember, this came from the booklist.html. okay, so here first we have all books. For that we had used this for loop, and the title of the book and the author of the books are all displayed. Then we have fiction books, the books that are filtered with the genre fiction. Then we have first book where book ID is equal to 1, which is Django for Beginners by William S. Vincent. And then we have books ordered by title. So you can see they are alphabetically arranged by title. So we have all the books here, and also we have the first 5 books here. So we can see that all the filters or all the methods that we have applied worked correctly, and we are having the correct data that is displayed in our web page. Now one thing I just want to focus here is, here it says book ID equal to 1. We are trying to fetch the book with ID equal to 1. But if you look at the models, we see that we never had any ID field. So Django automatically adds an ID field to the model and also sets it as the primary key. So this is one thing which I already told you when we started studying about models. So something that you can keep in mind. So this is how we can retrieve or read data using the methods and filters that are provided by the Django ORM. So you see that we did not have to write any complicated SQL queries, but using those methods, we were able to retrieve data easily using the Django ORM.
Great job! You now know how to create and read records using Django's ORM, all without writing a single SQL query. Now in the next lesson, we'll continue this journey and look at how to update and delete records, completing the full CRUD cycle. But before you move on, make sure to try the practice problems available right here on the CodeChef platform for these operations that we have discussed. It'll give you hands-on experience with creating and retrieving data in Django. So I'll see you in the next part where we will complete the story of CRUD with update and delete.